I can confirm you are live.
Thank you. Is it now 2 o'clock? Yes. It is now 2 o'clock. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Kingsland and West Norfolk West Norfolk Area Museums Committee, and welcome on Love West Norfolk Day. So we are being recorded, so I hope everyone's happy with that, and we are also live on YouTube. So if I could ask the Democratic Services Officer to conduct a roll call, please.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Bubb.
Present.
Councillor DeWally.
Present.
Councillor Kemp.
Present.
Councillor Knuckles.
Present.
Councillor Andy Tyler. Don't believe he's in the meeting yet. We have County Councillor Banbridge.
Present.
Councillor Chenery of Horsborough, don't believe is in the meeting yet. And officers, we have Robin Hanley, Rachel Williams, and Oliver is not yet joined us. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. And could I just remind you that if you like to say something, either put your hand up and wait to be called, or put something in the chat, please. And if you want to leave the meeting, also put it in chat so that we are aware. So hopefully you've all got your agenda okay. If we can go now to apologies, please. I know we've had apologies from County Councillor Daubney and Susan Thompson, the French Museum, and Lindsay Bevan from True's Yard. Do we have any more, Wendy?
We do, Chair. We have got them from Kim Leonard as well from the Friends. He's unable to attend this afternoon as a substitute for Susan. Thank you.
Okay. Right, lovely, thank you. As I believe in the terms of reference, it just suggests that county councillors or any member actually can be substituted by another member. So I just wonder, when we send out an email reminding people of the date, if we could also remind them of they are able to send a substitute at the meeting if they're not able to attend. Could you?
Yeah, of course we can do that, Chair.
Thank you. Because I know we're all busy, aren't we? And with county council as well, we all have different meetings and different times, and things keep changing because of circumstances. So it might make it easier. So the minutes of the meeting are on the page. Those who are attendance, do you find them a correct record?
I would like my apologies to be recorded for the last meeting because they were sent and you realised what the issue was. I think there was an issue and I had to send them from the train, and it was just, there was no signal at the time.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex. Okay, so everyone happy with that? Thank you. Any matters arising? No. I'll just sort of quickly suggest, because someone was asking about coach numbers, and I have inquired, and obviously it's impossible to say how many coaches we have arrive at Kings Lynn, but at the time I was asking around, I noticed there was a coach parked at Austin Field, so I went to discuss with the driver, and he travelled from Leeds with a coach load, and he says he does meet and arrive at Kings Lynn a couple of times during the summer, and the passengers out spend half the day in Kings Lynn. But of course, during November and December, we had many coaches come to Kings Lynn because of the Thursford Festival. They stayed at the Duke's Head and Knights Hill and spent the afternoon in Kings Lynn. But interestingly, during November, we had a party of Indians stay at the Duke's and spent all day in Kings Lynn and visiting the museums. So that's interesting when you actually do dig a little bit deeper. Right, and no one else got any matters arising. So if we can go to the important part of the meeting then, the report. Welcome back, Oliver. And could I say that, as you know, I hope you've all read the report, because there's a long, important part of the report is showing us how the staff have been working in difficult circumstances. And I would like to say that we all have appreciated the amount of work the museum staff have provided and done during the pandemic. And they've been very flexible and working safely. And it's been really good how many online events people have, our residents and visitors can view. And together with the stories of Lynn, there's been some fantastic online events for residents and people all over the country. And now we're open to the public. It's been good to be able to book and see where people are coming from. So thank you very much, Oliver, if you can pass that on to your staff. So if we can start the report then from 1.12 and just sort of expand how we are now and then go through the report, that'd be lovely.
Thanks, Chair. So if I perhaps pick up the just the sort of update of where we are as a service in regard to code response, and then I'll hand over to Oliver, who thankfully has joined the meeting, to pick up on the next few items. But just to remind members that all of the legal restrictions relating to museums have now come to an end. We're continuing to obviously ensure that we maintain high levels of sort of COVID secure procedures. That includes requesting that visitors wear face coverings, observe respectful distancing. Visitors can still pre-book if they wish to, but we are seeing increasing numbers of visitors reverting to traditional sort of walk-up access, and Lynn Museum is no exception to that. So in the earlier part of the report, you've obviously got the sort of long history of the comings and goings of COVID openings and closures. And as the chair referenced, very grateful to the staff teams across the whole service actually for their ever flexible response to changing guidelines and requirements. But just to say that legal restrictions now lifted, but we are continuing to offer visitors a really sort of safe visit, and obviously as well looking to ensure our staff are able to operate in a safe environment. So happy to answer any questions on sort of COVID response, Chair, but the report provides members with all the detail, hopefully.
Lovely, thank you very much, thank you. So and Oliver's going to start on with the report of exhibitions, I believe.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just to go through, starting with exhibitions, and the period of the report just picks up the last bit of the extended Thomas Baines exhibition. We had an anniversary, it's a couple of years ago now, 2020, and the exhibition at the museum generated a lot of interest in one of Kingsland's famous sons. And it gave us an opportunity to put the spotlight on Thomas Baines and do some additional work. For example, we were able to do some conservation on a very interesting sketchbook, juvenile sketchbook that he did as a lad. And there are lots of sort of adventurous images that he created, which slightly tally with his life as an adult, in fact. And with this Thomas Baines exhibition, as with previous exhibitions, we're planning to create an online version of the exhibition after it finishes, or after it has finished, so that people are able to pick up on the exhibition themes from afar all over the world as part of the Google platform. And this also serves as a useful link when we get people inquiring about people like Thomas Baines. We can give them information and also point them to this further information with images online.
Lovely.
Item 2.2 is our current exhibition. Gardens, things outside seem to be starting to think about spring, don't they? And a few green shoots out there, and people are enjoying the gardens exhibition that we have at the museum, which will run through till the summer. And we find that people are enjoying the little films that are available. So we've got the Taylor twins talking about their recollections of their life at the Taylor's Seed Shop in the town, which was a fixture in Kingsland for many years. And we also have a little 1940s blast from the past with a Dig for Victory film that shows you how to plant leeks 1940s style and so on. So that's been good. We've got a simplified layout of the museum exhibition space at the moment to help people sort of do the correct distancing and so on, all this COVID business. And we're planning to, with our next exhibition, which will be coming up in the summer, will be the Turner display of the Turner painting, The Walton Bridges, which is was a project to acquire and then create an activities program around it from the National Lottery. And the Walton Bridges painting, an amazing early masterpiece by Turner, will be coming to Kingsland next summer in June. And we're also going to have the benefit of the curatorship of Francesca Vanka, who has selected a number of other paintings from the Norfolk collections on a watery theme to go with the Walton Bridges painting as well. So we're really looking forward to that. It'll be something a bit different and an opportunity to think about Turner. We've got a Henry Baines in there as well, and also interesting paintings from the Norfolk collections.
Lovely.
Yes. 2.3 is, I mentioned this project which involves artists. It's part of a Norfolk County Council project called Experience, which aims to encourage tourism in the sort of the shoulder months, the quieter times of year. And at the Lynn Museum, you can pick up one of these packs. It's called Lull, and it's thinking about nature going into a bit of a lull over winter. And participants can do an audio walk around Kingsland, and the pack has got interesting things for them, for people to look at as well in association. So that's Lynn Museum linking in with wider county council initiatives such as the Experience programme. 2.4, from time to time, we have a short run of pop-up exhibitions at the museum, and we had a display for a few weeks of this pop-up display using new research about the Black Americans who came over in the 19th century and toured Britain, including Norfolk, to explain about their experience as enslaved people in America. And the poster in the report shows publicity for a talk given by Mr. Craft in King's Lynn back in 1855. So that ends, I think, section 2, Elizabeth.
Yes, thanks, Claire. Yeah. I'll just see if there's anyone got any questions. First of all, it's really good having the Turner painting in the summer, especially that time of year, so we will get lots of people. Does that fit in with any of the curricular activities of the school, of schools?
Yes, and we will be having it at the museum sort of the last bit of the summer term, but also I'm pleased that we can have it through into the autumn term. And our very creative learning officer, Melissa Hawker, I'm sure will come up with some brilliant ideas of how it can link to the curriculum. She'd be best placed to explain that, but I know she's always full of ideas.
Yeah. And the lull, have you had many people in to purchase one of those packs?
We have had some. I can find out from my colleagues about exactly how many and get back to you if you'd like. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but yes, it has been a good thing to be able to offer to people.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions before we, oh, Tony, would you like to say something?
Yes, also on the lull, it sounds like a good idea, but a fairly well kept secret. But given that the museum is closed for a couple of days, is there anywhere else people can get hold of the packs, like the Corn Exchange or somewhere?
That's a very good point. I'll make inquiries about that. And you're right. Like today, we had a Friends committee meeting in the museum this morning, and we did get people wanting to come into the museum. And I had to explain that, unfortunately, we are closed on a Monday. So you are right that the museum's not open every day for people, especially Sunday, which might be a good day for doing a walk.
Mm. There was, Tony, there was a lot of publicity when it first came about at towards the end of last year, but I expect, like most things, we need reminding, don't we? Mm. Alexandra.
Thank you. Yes, and thank you for that very, very interesting update on the exhibitions. I was wondering, with the Walton Bridge, the Turner coming to Lynn, whether we could link that in with the maps that exist of Lynn and all the bridges, not only over the Ouse, but also within the town, because Lynn was once called the sort of the Venice of England, wasn't it? There was the network of little bridges, and I was at a talk about the urban archaeological database last week, which showed some of the early maps from the 15th century and 16th century, and I think that would be a very good opportunity to bring these to the attention of people, perhaps have them for sale in the shop, because they used to be for sale in the shop, the early maps of Lynn, and I think that they would be very welcome there and sell very well. And also on the abolitionist exhibition, can we also talk about some of our own exhibitionists in the area, like William Clarkson in Wisbech? I think that would be quite good to tie it in with local connections as well. What do you think?
I think that the connection with the bridge theme and King's Lynn is very interesting, and I'm sure there are opportunities there for us to sort of to look at those and make those connections. We have the opportunity with our website, social media, and other events to do that sort of connection. And I know Francesca Banca is very keen to work with us closely on all sorts of ways to promote the Turner painting and the theme, the watery theme that she's come up with for this exhibition. So thank you for those suggestions. And you were asking about selling maps of King's Lynn at the museum shop. And I think that that's an area that we could explore. I could make some inquiries about possible retail development. And I think we will be wanting to work closely with the new retail manager once they're sort of appointed for the museum service, looking at various opportunities for retail.
Excellent. They make a lovely addition to anybody's wall, I think, those maps. But also on the abolitionist theme, it was Thomas Clarkson, I meant to say, not William. It was Thomas Clarkson, one of the abolitionists, the statue to him in Wisbech. And I was just thinking that could be incorporated into the exhibition too.
Yes, of course, as well as the visitors coming to explain first-hand experience of slavery, we do also have a number of people up and down the country, including Clarkson, who played an important role in developing awareness and the work to abolish slavery. So I think that's a very good point.
Excellent.
Thank you. Okay, then, Oliver, we'll start at number 3 then, please.
So looking at the report, 3.1, I mentioned social media, and we found that a very useful medium for connecting with audiences, and our interest in our accounts grow week by week. So each time I do this report, I update on the number of followers, and it's a bit more each time. And you know, it is a good way of keeping in touch with what the museum gets up to, and we're able to use it to connect to our collections, and we rely a lot on the photographs of items in the collections, both 3D items, the paintings and photographs. So all that work that the volunteers did in scanning posters and prints and so on has really paid off with this recent period when we've been using a lot of them on social media. 3.2, on-site volunteering, mentioned volunteers, has been on pause in recent times, and we're hoping we can get that back in business, as it were, get that going again. It's really gratifying it's a bit of a win-win with volunteering, that the volunteers themselves gain a lot out of it, and the museum itself
Oh, has Oliver disappeared again? I think Oliver has got Wi-Fi problems again. Robin, if you'd like to, have you got the report? Are you able to delete it?
Absolutely. So I'll do my not very convincing Oliver Bone impression, and members will have to forgive me if we need to get back to you on any detail that Oliver will obviously have at his fingertips. But yeah, Oliver was just talking about volunteering, and as a service, volunteering really important. And just to sort of update members that we are looking at how we can facilitate more volunteers coming back, mindful of the sort of restrictions we've been under in terms of COVID. And at this point, we're looking at having a phased resumption of indoor volunteering after Easter. So we recognise it's really important, and it's something we're very anxious to get back up and running.
That's good.
Moving on in that section of the report, Oliver mentions that we're continuing to work very closely with local media, the Lynn Museum, etc., to raise awareness of the museum collections. And Melissa Hawker, our learning officer, has also contributed with regular slots on Radio Norfolk. So, the staff team continue to use local media to raise awareness of the range of the collections we have, in addition to individual exhibitions and activities. And as part of that, we're also obviously supporting the Kick the Dust project that we're covering a bit later in the report. And Dana has worked closely with Rachel Williams, who again is going to be reporting a little bit later, on a number of projects that obviously relate to the collections, and again, widening awareness of what the museum holds to a broader audience. So if members have any questions on that section, Chair, I can move on to provide an update on section 4.
There's no one got their hands up, so if you'd like to continue on section 4, it's quite
so as members are aware, from previous meetings, we have a number of timbers from Seahenge that have gone on loan to the British Museum for their exhibition focused on the world of Stonehenge, which opens to the public on the 17th of February and runs through until the 17th of July. So this is one of the British Museum's blockbuster exhibitions, and pleased to report that Seahenge is going to be a real centerpiece for this exhibition, and will be featured alongside loans from museums across the world, but will clearly provide an opportunity to raise awareness of the wonderful Seahenge Gallery in Kings Lynn. Our conservation team have been working really closely with their colleagues at the British Museum, and NMS conservators Debbie Harrison and Jonathan Clark actually went down to the British Museum to oversee the installation of the timbers, and had worked closely with the team at the BM who were planning the exhibition, who themselves visited Kings Lynn to sort of assess the timbers and have worked closely with our colleagues to ensure that the timbers are displayed in an appropriate way. So I'd like to sort of pay thanks to the conservation staff as well as curatorial staff in Kingsland, Oliver and Dana for supporting what has been quite a complex loan. But clearly for the museum, it provides a wonderful sort of spotlight for Lynn Museum, because we know these British Museum blockbuster exhibitions are really powerful and have a very broad reach. And we've sort of got a sense of that already. Oliver's included reference to the coverage in the Daily Telegraph, section 4.3 of the report. And we're expecting to have sustained media interest in the exhibition throughout its run. And obviously looking at sort of maximising those opportunities in King's Lynn. For members that have been to the Lynn Museum, you may have spotted the sort of graphics that explain to visitors about why sections of the display have been relocated, although I would add that the majority of the timbers that have gone on loan to the British Museum are those from our reserve collections that aren't normally on display. So the impact on the sort of permanent gallery is more limited, and we obviously have been able to keep that gallery open, which is really important. And just to say finally that this is another example, this exhibition, of the long-standing and very strong partnership that Norfolk Museum Service has with the British Museum. We've worked with the British Museum on a range of different projects. They are obviously very closely involved with the major redevelopment at Norwich Castle, where we will have a permanent British Museum gallery of the medieval period, but we've also had a broad range of projects running with them, whether it's curatorial exchanges or links between our learning teams. So it's a really good partnership, and obviously great to see that, you know, Lynn Museum and people in King's Lynn directly benefiting from it. And on the back of this exhibition, obviously looking at a range of events and activities happening in King's Lynn to sort of make the most of this really strong connection. So really exciting, and hopefully members will get the chance to go and have a look at the British Museum exhibition at some point during its run. I'll pause there, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm hoping to go down and view it. There was a little piece on Radio 4 this morning, and but it didn't mention the Seahenge. It was mainly discussing Stonehenge, so which was disappointing. But they were talking about the animal life as well. So there's a lot to discuss in a short period. So perhaps it will come again. Are we able to have any local leaflets at the British Museum next to the exhibition? Do you know?
That's a very good question, and it's one we can ask, certainly. So I will, and that discussion may already have been had, excuse me. So I will check with Oliver, but absolutely, it's a really good opportunity. I think the British Museum have been very good at sort of promoting the Seahenge element within the exhibition, and certainly in the early publicity, it was one of the key exhibits from their perspective, and some of the early press releases issued by the British Museum really underline how central the Seahenge exhibit is to this whole show. So it's not going to be sort of tucked away in a corner. It's, you know, very much front and center. So I'm sure there will be a sustained interest as a result of this exhibition. But we want to maximise the opportunity, so we can certainly ask that question. Yes, Chair.
I was just thinking about wonderful Treasures of, was it called Treasures of West Norfolk? The nice booklet which one of the museum trainees put together. I thought that would be an excellent example, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Anyone got any questions before we go on to the next? No? The next item is about the Friends, and if I can sort of just say that the Friends are important to the Lynn Museum. They do raise funds, they have exhibitions, and raise funds so that we can purchase many objects for the museum, match funding, all that type of thing. So I'm going to ask our comms department if they perhaps may have time to put something together, so we can perhaps put something out to the public, just to see whether any other members of our area are interested in being members, because the members are very, very small at them. Well, there's quite a few members, it's just they're not wanting or not able to join on the committee, and it's the committee side of things really, isn't it, Robin, as I understand?
Yes, that's correct, Chair. I think the current committee have been sort of very gallantly continuing to sort of support the work of the Friends, but for various reasons can't continue with that, and have been looking at sort of trying to recruit some new members who actually want to get actively involved. And I know Oliver's been working with them as part of that, as has Michelle Gaskin, who's our volunteer coordinator for the museum service. I think there was a meeting this morning, but I don't have any updates from that, I'm afraid. So, but we are, just to reassure members, I know Oliver and particularly has been working really hard with the Friends to try and find a way forward for them.
Okay, well, I'll perhaps speak to Oliver about it and see whether he feels it may be an opportunity for us to put out a little piece.
Certainly, that'd be welcome, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, moving on to section 6, Chair, if that's okay, which covers partnerships. Obviously, we continue to work really closely with colleagues in the Borough Council, and service level agreement obviously is the sort of linchpin of that. And we not only focus on delivering our museum services, we also, as we have done over many years, look to support the Borough Council with other relevant cultural and heritage projects, and those include providing support for projects being developed as part of the Towns Fund process, including the Guildhall. So a number of NMS staff have been actively involved in working with Borough Council colleagues to support the development of the Guildhall proposals, and that includes people like Dana Woolbright, our assistant curator, supporting around interpretation collections. We've also been providing advice around learning, and Rachel's been feeding on that front with our colleague learning manager, Jan Pittman. We've also been providing advice around design. So wherever possible, we are continuing to contribute to help the Borough Council as they develop these important projects. A reminder that the Lynn Museum is currently in its free admission period under item 6.3, and that is provided through the terms of the service level agreement. And under 6.4, a reminder that we continue to work closely with the Borough Council around the Stories of Lynn site, and Rachel Williams, who'll be giving a report next, obviously is a member of the NMS learning team and works very closely with Borough colleagues to deliver a range of formal and informal learning programs at Stories of Lynn. Also includes, working with the Lynn Museum around schools and other activities, and Dana Woolbright, our assistant curator, again links up with Stories of Lynn, providing collections advice. So I think we're providing, I would hope, really sort of good support for Borough Council colleagues across the town and the borough. And a good example of that is actually 6.6, which is something I think we've referenced before, which is the exhibition at Stories of Lynn Studio Ceramics, which is actually one that's been developed by Dr. Francesca Vanker, our senior curator of art from Norwich, and it's Francesca that's actually working with Oliver on the Turner painting exhibition plans, and it's really great that we can bring in our subject specialists with their collections to support not only what we're doing at Lynn Museum, but also support programming at Stories of Lynn. So I'll pause there, Chair, for any questions on that section.
Any questions on section 6? Yes, Leslie?
Thank you. I did have my hand up. It's not
Sorry.
actually on. It's not actually on section 6, but we have a award forum, St Margaret's at St Nicholas Forum, and I'm happy to pass on the request for volunteers and friends and anything else like that through the forum if you would like me to do that. I'm also a member of the arts, Kingsland Arts, I forgot what it's called now, Arts Trust. And so again, if anybody would like, if you could send me a few notes on anything that you want to promote to people sort of, with the wider area of Kings Lynn, then I'm happy to do that.
Well, thank you. Oliver, we were talking about finding new members for the Friends of the Museum, and we were saying how important they are to the museum. And Leslie, if you could give Leslie some more information about the Friends of the Museum, and then she's very happy to pass it on to the different societies she attends.
Yes, thank you. The Friends are a bit of a low ebb. They've tried and tried to get new committee members, and no one's really come forward. So I think they're getting to the stage when they're wanting to call it a day, really. But yes, thank you, Leslie, for that offer of support, and I can certainly be in touch with information about potentially getting some new recruits, because all it really needs is 4 or 5 really keen people who are willing to come along to the meetings and keep the organisation going, and it has been really, really helpful to the museum to have the Friends organisation. So it'd be great if we could if we could manage to get some new blood, keen enthusiasm back into the organisation, really.
Thank you. Alexandra?
Thank you. Yes. Are you planning to have the coffee mornings that you used to have in the museum? I think it was on Wednesdays at 10 o'clock, and you're involving people with dementia. I know obviously we're not quite through all of the after effects of the pandemic yet, but looking forward, what opportunities are there for engaging, wider members of the public in the museum for the activities which you started to deliver really so fantastically before, and also what's happening with schools, with visits, or with virtual or in person? What's happening there, please?
I'm happy to say that for schools, there's been great interest in visiting the museum and learning about the past. We have our Seahenge exhibit, and Bronze Age is a particularly popular topic. It's been brilliant that interest from schools has been maintained, and I would say grown as well. We've got an excellent team at Lynn Museum who help with the school group comes, they get split into groups, it tends to be, and we'll have a member of staff who'll work with them on a particular topic, and then they circulate around to learn a nice variety of things about the particular topic. And we know it's really appreciated by the teachers. And it's great that we're able from time to time to link up with Stories of Lynn as well, and Rachel's good work over at Stories, and have combined days, and those work particularly well. And as we hopefully return to some sort of post-COVID normality, we'll be able to be starting up the things like the coffee mornings again. And we had good links with some of the care homes in the town. And I know some of the members at this meeting have been along to the coffee mornings and have seen the sort of things that take place there. So it's, as you say, it's a good way of engaging with different audiences. And I'm hopeful that we can start those up again. It won't be too long, but who knows? Who knows what the months ahead hold for us?
Yeah. Alexandra, on point 2, it gives you some numbers of visitors from schools, which it looks very impressive, I think. And I've seen on social media in the last 2 or 3 weeks where the schools are not open, where the museum's not open in certain mornings of the week because they've had lots of school visits. So it's really happening, and it's really good to see. Michael, your question, please.
Thank you, Chair. My apologies, I've missed much of the meeting due to my internet going down. There's little I can do about that, unfortunately. The bane of remote meetings. I shall be glad when we meet live again, hopefully next time. My question, I think it goes back a little bit to your question in terms of the Friends. I'm concerned about volunteering across the board. I'd had mentioned that Choose Yard are struggling to obtain sufficient volunteers for guided tours and such like. And I was certainly reading through the papers. It gives a suggestion that because of COVID, that people willing to come out and volunteer seems to have fallen. And I just really wondered how we could help improve on this. I do note that Shakespeare's Guildhall Trust have done very well in raising volunteers for the Guildhall, and I was just wondering if there are groups like that and others that we could perhaps tap into to get local interest back up again. Thank you.
Chair, if I could perhaps start off with a service perspective, and then I'm sure Oliver will want to give some further comments in terms of Kingsland volunteering specifically. But I think actually this is quite an interesting time in terms of volunteering, because as members are aware from previous reports, what we have been doing as a service throughout the pandemic, particularly during the lockdowns, was engaging with our volunteers in a different way. And clearly, we'd had quite traditional models of volunteering, which we've been able to sort of revisit, if you like, as a part of one of the small positives of COVID in terms of a better sort of confidence around using digital and identifying volunteer activities that can actually take place remotely, mindful that some activities clearly need to still be physical and on site. But I think, we are alert now to more opportunities around remote volunteering, and what that does is, I guess, broaden the base of volunteering. And in fact, at some sites, we've seen an increase in the level of volunteering because we've been able to provide opportunities to people who perhaps wouldn't have been able to engage with us using more traditional volunteering approaches, which require people to come to site, particularly during the working day. So by being able to provide digital opportunities, we have in fact in some cases been able to sort of broaden access to volunteering. So I think going forward, we'd be keen as a service to look at ways we can maintain that, so that we can still offer that sort of mixed approach to volunteering. But also, we are now looking, as I mentioned earlier, to be in a position where, with the sort of hopefully improvement of the COVID position, being able to bring more volunteers back face to face. And I think, credit to the staff that they've done really a lot of very good work to keep engaged with volunteers. So even where people haven't been able to come to site, there have been lots of really good sort of ways that staff have found to sort of keep volunteer groups connected, mindful that for a lot of people volunteering, it brings really important well-being benefits and all those social interactions. So across the service, staff have put a lot of work into ensuring that we've stayed in touch with volunteers, provided sort of informal remote opportunities for them to come together, and that's been really important. So whilst inevitably there will be some changes, I think, to the profile of volunteering, I think actually I'd be sort of quietly confident that we could not only rebuild the face-to-face volunteering, but also provide new opportunities to get involved for people who perhaps traditionally wouldn't have had that opportunity. So I think you're absolutely right to flag that as a concern, because we know how important volunteering is, not just to our work on collections, but also our direct delivery of visitor programs and learning activities. It's really critical. And as always, I think we've worked well with partners across the town to look at how collectively we can improve volunteering. And I know Rachel's been very much plugged into that. So I think it will be very interesting actually for the sort of heritage sector generally to sort of look at how previous volunteering models can be revisited and actually some new opportunities taken out of what otherwise was a pretty grim period. I don't know if Oliver wants to add anything in terms of Kingsland volunteering specifically.
Thank you, Robin.
I don't have much more to add, but I think Robin's right that this period has sort of shaken things up a little bit, and it does offer opportunities for new ways of thinking, new ways of working, and we need to sort of look to those opportunities as we look forward. We did have a digital volunteering scheme at Lynn Museum where we invited people working from their own homes to provide visual descriptions of some of the paintings and pictures that we were displaying as part of the Thomas Baines exhibition. And these visual descriptions are very useful for people who have poor or no eyesight to be able to understand, what's being portrayed in the paintings. And I think that's an example of a digital volunteering opportunity that is a potential for museums up and down the country. And we did have people from all over involved in that. We had a group of about 10 people. Our trainee Sammy at the time organised it, and it gave us some useful material.
Yeah, great. Well, we've always been very fortunate having plenty of volunteers, and I'm sure lots of them are willing to come back when it's the safe way to do so. So thank you for that. Andy, your question?
Thank you, Chair, and apologies for my slight lateness in arrival. Yes, glad to hear about care homes when the contact with them when coffee mornings resume. That is an opportunity to bring 1 or 2 extra people in, I'm sure. Yes, the COVID situation and lockdowns has in a lot of organisations locally affected volunteering and friends, and I'm glad that people are looking at other ways that might encourage people, to participate. So that's good. Time, of course, is has been precious, and of course, in some ways, people that have time on their hands have been nervous about re-engaging, face to face. So that's good. My question and comment with regard and hearing about Kings Lynn in the wider community and nationally. Delighted, of course, to hear about British Museum. I shall be going. I was there fairly recently, but I'll be going again. But as some members may and staff and managers may know, there is a connection between Kings Lynn, or was a connection between Kings Lynn and the composer Ralph Vaughan Williams. He came to Kings Lynn, collected folk songs from the area, and went to the North End. And also, of course, there were connections with the Kings Lynn Festival, with him, Sir John Barbarolli, and other musicians. I'm delighted to say that Kings Lynn does feature in a publication about Vaughan Williams, a photograph of Lynn, and some information about Vaughan Williams's visit to the North End. Churchill Museum has a copy of the magazine, which is very good. And so I'm just asking really through you, Chair, whether any of the other organisations, the Kings Lynn Museum or Stories of Lynn, would also like a copy to have in their archive or in their store. So it's really a question about that. If they do, then I think I will be able to, to get one for them. And that was it.
Yeah, I'm sure both Stories of Lynn could be based at the TIC, perhaps, as a matter of interest to look at, and the Lynn Museum as well. So what magazine? What is it called, Andy?
Yeah, right. Sorry, yes, Chair. It's called Vaughan Williams' 150th anniversary celebration of the man and his music. There is a CD with it of music, and it's published by an organisation called Choir and Organ, Choir and Organ. and their email is choirandorgan.com. choirandorgan.com. So that's all the details. But as I said, I have got one spare copy, but obviously if 2 or 3 copies are required, then they can be ordered officially, officially.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much for that, Andy.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, Tony.
Thank you. Volunteers. Do we find that they are dependable? We have had in the past quite unfortunate experiences of some people who are volunteering at various places. We're a volunteer, you can't expect us to do that. They get a very fixed idea of what they're doing and how wonderful they are doing it, but don't actually are too helpful. So Michael Savory, who runs the Muckleborough collection, was saying that he won't have a volunteer on the place because they are unreliable, because they don't turn up when they should do, or they pick and choose what they want to do. He only has people he employs. So what do we do to keep them reliable, or do we find they're not?
No, we have some really good volunteers, and I know the museums have a proper structure for volunteers.
Well, again, Chair, if I could sort of say on behalf of the service, and then Oliver no doubt will add in terms of Lynn, but just to reassure members, we do have a very robust approach to volunteer management. We have a volunteer coordinator, Michelle Gaskin, who supports curators and other staff across the organisation to ensure that we sort of manage volunteers consistently. We have 300 plus active volunteers within NMS, and we have, as part of that, very clear role descriptions for volunteers, so effectively a job description, if you like. So we're clear about what they're doing, volunteers are clear about what they're doing. We have codes of conduct which volunteers sign up to. We have induction programs to ensure that volunteers have the information they need, and we have, I think, really good sort of mechanisms to sort of deal with any issues that come up. Does happen occasionally, but actually, we have a really sort of broad range of volunteers from lots of different backgrounds, operating in a huge range of different teams, ranging from sort of traditional collections volunteers doing archive and documentation work, through to volunteers supporting schools delivery, through to volunteers looking after heavy horses and livestock at Gresson Hall. So a really broad range, and the service frankly couldn't operate without them. It's a really important part of what we do. We know that for a lot of volunteers, it has significant benefits in terms of their own well-being. So that's also something we view as important. But at the end of the day, I think it would be hard to envisage NMS operating without its volunteers. I think but it's having volunteering within a clear structure and having very clear processes and having consistency in terms of the way in which volunteers are managed and treated. So it means our expectations are clear, as are the volunteers. So hopefully that does help mitigate some of the issues that might otherwise arise. I don't know if Oliver wants to add anything from a Lynn Museum perspective.
Perhaps you'd have a word with the RSPB then.
I think that's right, Robin. And that volunteer, it's all about people, isn't it? And it's people management and getting the best out of people and making sure that both sides benefit from the relationship, and it's not sort of lopsided, as it were. And we do have a very good volunteer coordinator for the service as a whole, who's able to give advice on best practice, so that we do as good a job as we can.
Lovely, thank you very much. Thank you. So it then brings us down to, we've discussed the 7.2 about schools, and also that will come under with Rachel as well when she does her report. Could we just talk about, and I'm pleased to read that we're having a trainee in April to Kingsland, which is good. Is there anything to add, you'd like to add to that, Robin or Oliver, on the traineeship, please?
Just to say, yes, we're delighted to have a trainee again in the coming year. We're going to be doing the interviewing process next week, actually, on the Monday, long day on Monday. and we'll know by the Tuesday who we'll be getting for working with us at Kingsland. Very exciting.
Yes, lovely. Very popular that is, isn't it? Very good. Lovely. Thank you very much for that. So our next is about Kick the Dust. Well, it's an excellent report, and it shows how many young people are actually joining with the Kick the Dust throughout Norfolk, and it's excellent. It gives them an insight into heritage, gives them another suggestion for their career, their life, and also give them confidence as well. So it's an amazing project which the Norfolk Museum Service have got. Is there anything you want to add before I pass over to Rachel, Robin?
Well, just to say, Chair, that in that report, members have got details of the performance of the project to date. So some really sort of powerful statistics there, and it is a project that we've been very closely monitoring, so we can absolutely demonstrate the impact of this project on young people. And credit to the project team. Obviously, Rachel absolutely front and centre with that in terms of activities in Kingsland and West Norfolk. But as a sort of county-wide project, you'll see from the data and the comparison with other Kick the Dust projects across the country, that this is a project that really is delivering very successfully. We've got some really well-established partnerships now, and probably Kingsland is a really good example of that, where the Learning Engagement Officer post is part funded by the Borough Council and Kick the Dust, and the posts are very much embedded within their local communities. So members have got the information there if they'd like to read through it at their leisure. There is a really good Kick the Dust website, and you've got the link for that in the report, which highlights some case studies to give you a flavour of the broader range of Kick the Dust activities. You've got within the data the breakdown of participants, and you've also got the really interesting evaluation data as well. So we're obviously looking at next steps with this project. The current Heritage Fund funding runs until the end of November. We're currently talking to Heritage Fund and other partners around next steps with this project, and also looking at other funding opportunities as well, because I think as a service, very much committed to maintaining the really sort of strong benefits of Kick the Dust. Really the data speaks for itself. So I'll stop there, Chair, because obviously Rachel's going to be giving that very sort of important Kingsland perspective on what is a wonderful project.
What I find is incredible is the amount of young people you've actually worked with and brought them into the service. It's really, really good news, isn't it? Really helped a lot of young people. That's good. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, on that report. So, Rachel, thank you for your report. If you'd like to discuss your report and show us all the good news that you're doing with your groups of young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everybody. I've written the report out in full, and because we moved into an updated report, you'll see that we're continuing the good news story of the schools that we're working with. I'm very lucky just really to feed in some updates to you that I have 3 ex-head teachers who are volunteering for me, and when they're on offer to help support school sessions, I'm very lucky to be able to use them. Some of them are still practicing in the system as supply teachers, as well as others that have retired, and so I'm very lucky to have that as a volunteer team, and they are totally reliable. They understand the value that they can bring to the session, but also the point of being fully committed, because they know that children don't get taught without somebody there to help deliver. We're working in collaboration with the Minster as well as Lynn Museum on a lot of schools, and coming up soon is another day where Lynn Museum and Trews Yard and Stories of Lynn are working together. And I think what we're finding from the Heritage Education Network that we've established here in the West, that teachers are learning what is on offer from us in our institutions here, and they're now starting to see less barriers between the 2 or 3 of us. And Certainly for us, in terms of welcoming people to our museums, if we can do a split site day for the same price as one day with me or one day with Lynn, then I think schools can see the benefit. We help them transition between the two buildings or even the three buildings as part of their learning for the day. And that's really enriching the offer and helping to show the schools what is possible with our enrichment of their curriculum. One thing we've really noticed this year is that schools have really missed getting out. So they're coming back to us. We have some children who are age 7 who've never been on a school visit before, and that's not deprivation from the schools not wanting to do it, but realizing that, you know, restrictions are on them moving. So it's quite amusing to take them through the process of even lining up or cutting out, because these are the things that schools would do routinely, and that we're finding the gaps in their learning and experience. And when little ones get off the bus and go, we've come to a museum. Is this a museum? You know, they are not really sure what's out there in the world. So we're really pleased to be part of that again. And school numbers are looking good. We've got another 15 school bookings before the end of this Easter term here at Stories, and a good proportion of those are with joint days with other museums, particularly Lynn Museum. So thanks to my colleagues, we work really well with them. Kick the Dust just is rolling so beautifully along. The work experience program that we devised as a result of having to still try and offer young people opportunities to join in with the world of museums, with the sector, it really has developed. And what we're finding, my colleague Rachel Duffield and I particularly, we can now finish sentences for each other and kind of co-work projects with, if one isn't able to be there, the other one steps in, we co-plan, and that has worked really well on joint ventures. We also adapt the program to work with our particular cohorts. So we've had UEA students or MA students working with Rachel. I've had Churchill Park students working with me, and we do everything in between. The College of West Anglia is very good at supporting our work, and I had the opportunity of going to them to present about the programme, and from that recruited another 13 young people to take part in 2 work experience groups. One of the things I'm really benefiting from is the partnership work that we do within the community means that people have now learned that they can come and say, we really have got a strong need for a community film. Is there any way you could help us to do that? Well, of course, with our connections now, we can go to the College of West Anglia and say, have you got media students that might like a project to take on? So tomorrow we're filming, with the weather permitting, or despite the weather perhaps, we're filming some of the history of Chapel Street with a freelancer. With the work experience program, we've really benefited from being able to pull in professionals to give an hour and a half of their time to tell the students about their route to their point in their career. So the professionals can tell us about what they did and how maybe some didn't always have a clear map of where they're going at that particular time when they were 17 or 18. So that's really been beneficial to the students for that. One of the biggest experiences I think we're finding is understanding how your confidence can grow just being given these opportunities. And we know not everybody will go into the heritage sector, but many of them are looking now to the museum service to find them skills development opportunities to help them develop their confidence. And we have one of our groups on a Friday. They are the youth part of the local cultural education partnership, which is known as Peach. So they're the Peach youth group, Peachy. And they were supposed to finish at Christmas, but they're still continuing because actually they're really interested in being given opportunities to run a pop-up venue. They've had some training from Hunt and Darton funded by Creative Arts East and the Barbican. They want chair training, how to chair meetings, because some of them have grown in confidence and are now chairs of perhaps their school council or their college council. And they'd really like to know that even if they're not going to chair, how could they be a valuable member of a meeting so that they can join in with that successfully. We've also been recognised for youth voice, and so Festival Bridge has asked that next week the Peachy Group is going to make a film, perhaps just a sort of talking head style, about their journey and how they're feeling about being given the opportunity to speak and create and share ideas and learn from those around us. So all of these projects that are kind of mentioned in our my report are really working to fulfill some of the project commitments for other groups in our partnership work, helping to develop the young people's CVs and confidence and build their skills, so that we can continue to keep the museum running with really motivated and engaged people. I do count them as volunteers. So when you ask about volunteering, our youth work still, you know, it's all unpaid work at this moment in time, and so I think we should count them as volunteers, because nothing makes them turn up. Some are learning reliability, and we know that we have to tolerate that as well. But you know, like we've said about some adults, they don't always realise about the need to be reliable, and young people are helped to develop that skill and show that they have a part to play in the work we're doing. The Kick the Dust Time Turners are the long-term group that we've been running on a Wednesday for an hour and a half, and we're back on Zoom just because of group safety. We'll soon be back face to face, but we're making the Kingsland Civil War Siege Shuffle game. I'm working with David Flintham, which is lovely when you get a young person in the group who can say, oh, I worked on a dig with him, I'll give him a call and we'll see if he'll check our cards for us or our data. And you know, valuing people's contributions in that way, I think is really special. My highlight of this period has got to be working with Churchill Park on their Duke of Edinburgh work. So the Kick the Dust work team, Rachel Duffield and I, wanted to work with Churchill Park, and we usually are able to develop a sort of skills program for them that's appropriate to these complex needs students. And when they said that they would like to do something with mosaics, we were able to develop a program for them that started face-to-face, then had to move on to online because of COVID restrictions by the school, to keep us and their students safe. And we thought that with the Platinum Jubilee coming up, we could do a mosaic that linked to the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, and so the students designed that. Then we delivered hundreds of mosaic tiles to the students by bicycle, and then they created their own design that became a group project, and that was presented by the Mayor to the Queen a couple of Saturdays ago for Sandringham. And when you realise these young people are, you know, being given the opportunity to engage with our royalty, it's a key figure that they recognise and know. And there was hours of work, and to show how they'd sustained that and then helped to co-write the information interpretation for them was really powerful. So that was a real highlight, and I'm very grateful to my colleagues in the Civic Office and the Mayor, who were willing and able to help us record that event and to celebrate with us over that rather busy 10 days that we had. We continue to work with YMCA. We find that group of young people in Kingsland a little bit of a challenge to meet, because we just want to keep trying to find the opportunity that will bridge their experience and provide them with skills development. We've been working with them with their project worker to engage them with work experience programs, and they've done that to a certain extent. We're looking to get them into their volunteering community group of stitchers. We're also getting them involved in family learning bubbles, helping with cooking and areas that they feel comfortable with, because I think it's a big issue for them to kind of break into the world that perhaps they haven't had much experience of so far. Has anybody got any questions about Kick the Dust for me just before I touch?
It's good that you've done that presentation at the College of West Anglia, because obviously they've now got amazing idea of what Kick the Dust really means, and it's another way of finding young people, isn't it, to bring them into heritage, to help them to think about whether the heritage is important to them, or they enjoy heritage, which is good.
We base it very much on skills development, so we can show, and we continuously reiterate to them that these are the amazing jobs and career prospects for them in the heritage sector. But even if you're not sure whether your maths, biology, chemistry is going to take you into that sector, we do meet people like Emily, who's the events manager at Greston Hall, was talking today. She said, well, actually, I've got a degree in sciences and in ecology, and she was able to talk to Alex, who's on A-level biology, chemistry, maths, to say, well, that's where I went, but I've ended up having an amazing time in the heritage sector, using my passion to help bring Greston Hall to life for others that maybe didn't realise about that through that other route. So it is really valuable, and the students, many of them need 60 hours volunteering, which that has applied even when we've been through COVID. So to be able to help them to realise that there's something here for them. 2 or 3 of them have come back for a second or third programme because they're still looking to do more and have enjoyed engaging and have stayed with us. Even students from cabin crew training, which I think is great, and you kind of go, is this valuable? Well, of course, health and safety, risk assessing, providing entertainment, because some of the travel companies want air hostesses to then go on to be reps at the holiday centres, so that they can provide the entertainment. So they're finding the links to their work and to their courses, which I think is really good. And they're becoming their own advert for us. So others will go back to college and advocate for us, which I think is really valuable. I'm delighted about that. So,
Alexandra.
Thank you. Yes, the mute was stuck at the top. So, yes, Rachel, this is a terrific project, and I'm really mindful that it's, it should be part of the Youth Skills Pledge because of all the work transferable skills that you provide for young people, and also linking up with the Mental Health Trust, because 17% of the young people you help have got mental health difficulties. And of course, you provide lots of help for young people in care and care leavers. And going forward, I mean, this is such an important project. How can we guarantee its future?
I'm wondering whether Robin's going to step up with that one.
Yeah, I mean, as Councillor Kemp says, this is it's a really significant project that certainly has delivered really effectively, and as a service, we're very sort of anxious to sort of maintain the momentum with Kick the Dust. So we are actively looking at how we can continue this in terms of funding. So there's a number of strands that we're looking at the moment. So we've been talking to the Heritage Fund about the principles of a follow-up funding application. And whilst clearly there's no certainty around that, we've had, I think it's fair to say, sort of encouraging sort of responses from the Heritage Fund, and that would see us potentially working in partnership with another Kick the Dust project based in Leicestershire, and looking at how we can work together to build on the success of both projects, particularly around the areas that Rachel was particularly focusing on around skills development, work experience, structured volunteering. So we're in sort of current discussions with that other organisation around the principles. Very early days at the moment, but I'm quietly confident we're going to be in a position to put in a strong bid to the Heritage Fund. We are also looking at other opportunities around funding at the moment, and those include links within other parts of the County Council, including Children's Services and Public Health. So we are working quite closely at the moment with public health colleagues around the way in which Kick the Dust is helping to support the mental health and well-being of young people, which is obviously something that's really important. I think, again, it's fair to say that Kick the Dust has demonstrated it is able to work with groups of young people that other providers have found difficult to engage with. So we've got a really good track record of not only talking about it, but actually, data-based evidence of impact, which is really important. That's the position at the moment. We sort of recognise how important this project is. We're looking at a range of funding opportunities to maintain the momentum, and I was very pleased that the Borough Council were able to sort of maintain their support in Kings Lynn, and we're looking to work with a number of partners, stakeholders and funders like the Heritage Fund to enable us to sort of keep this project going, because it is, one that really does deliver.
Yes.
Please to say thank you.
Thank you. Anne, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, I do. Interesting what's been said. Delighted to hear that there is the enthusiasm, and the youngsters seem to be engaging well. I'm interested because there is now, and there will be in the future, even more discussion and looking at education that has practical use in society, and will lead to careers, and isn't just going to be theoretical and of no use to society. I'm just interested to know, perhaps from Rachel, how does she find the young people that she deals with? Are most of them keen, more interested in the practical side of things to get their careers going, and all that side of things? Or are there a proportion of people, of youngsters, that are not so much interested in the practical side, but say issues like, I'm more interested in, well, why did King John do this, and why didn't he do that, and what did his teacher say, and how was he influenced by the local bishop, and all that sort of thing? Or does she find that most of the youngsters are not so much interested in that side of things, but are more interested in, what trowels do we use to do this, or what computer should we use to archive that? I wonder if you can give us a sort of an idea of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tyler. A good question. I would say one of the things I think is happening with us doing work experience, that they are interested in factual information, but they're more interested in how that information is conveyed to others, or how they can take part in conveying it. So we've got one of the groups, the Peachy group, are really interested in finding out how they might set up a pop-up exhibition that would help somebody to understand about cultural change, or they might be wanting to run a workshop so that we can use the skills and the knowledge they have of risk assessing and practical design skills in order to help people participate in something that is a traditional activity for Christmas or something. So because of the approach that we have, they will use their knowledge, and they are interested in knowledge that's more fact-based. But I do think that they're really, because they're trying to learn about how the different career paths might go in our sector. They're wanting to know what you do in order to run a venue, or to set up an activity, or to create a film, because if I took the filmmaking, for example, so they actually had to go and visit the site. They had to have a look at Historic England's research papers on the environment that they were going to make the film about. They had to talk to people who know the local history of there. They even interviewed a couple of people who used to live in Chapel Street. But then they also needed to know the parts of the job that they didn't know about, so much, which was talking to a freelancer to find out how they might investigate a character and then present it in a film, and then actually how to use the equipment to record. So it's a balance, but I do think that the way that we're approaching this and coming into it as a work experience group, then quite often it's more about the skills engagement. The school sessions are more about the factual content, and that's where we might be teaching them about what was happening around the time of King John, and who his siblings were, and the events that happened to kind of make life like it was at that time, leading to the Magna Carta or whatever. So so it's a balance with the different way we deliver, but I think it's how we start off is probably what it is, whether we're work experience or a school learning session, the different routes we come to it.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent pictures showing where the young people have enjoyed their volunteering during the Lantern Parade, and they're going to do something at Easter, aren't they, as well, to help in.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that was lovely, the group that did the Lantern Parade, when the mayor needed to do photography, a photo shoot with the creators of the Loyal Address, I just said, you're here for work experience, I need to be in 2 places. Can you set up these refreshments? I've got to be with the schools. They did it. I said, I need you to clear down. Obviously, it's got to be all safely done. Make sure every group's had it. And then when you've finished, will you come down and conference about how you're going to set up what your ideas are for the pop-up? And I've even got a photo of them, because when I came back from being in a photo with the mayor, I came down, just took a shot of them, because that's exactly what they'd done. The stone hall was cleared. Everything was sorted into recycling and tidy. And they were conferencing and producing a big piece of paper for me to have a look at to make sure they'd done their work. And when you build the young people's confidence, I was confident in them, they were confident about what they had to do to conduct themselves and to provide that support, and they just quietly got on with it. And it is fantastic when you get payback like that, where you see that they just get on and run it and sort themselves. It's fantastic.
Lovely, excellent. We look forward to seeing the cards with the Civil War.
Oh yes, we'll make sure you get a set. That will be it should be good. We've learned a lot, and when you think about the actual process of debating whether you want a category 8 for loyalty, or what that figure is, it brings about some really interesting discussion, and we're using images of our collections, so we're always true to our collections as best we can be. Yes, good, thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. Well, as there's no further questions, then I think that finishes our reports. So thank you, everyone. As usual, full of good facts, and everyone's doing well. Thank you for us all. So our next meeting is on the 13th of June. Tony, have your hand up?
Yeah, can I just tap into this wonderful collection of knowledgeable people and ask if anybody knows anybody that might give a talk on UFOs? Because I've been asked to provide one, so
right.
I'm struggling.
Yes, I would imagine you are. Have you emailed Terry Parish?
Oh yes, no help at all.
Well, I don't think we can be helpful either. I'm sorry to say.
No. Worth a try.
Yeah. No. Yes. Yeah. So our next meeting's on the 13th of June, and I was going to suggest that perhaps members would like to visit the Lynn Museum if it's going to be possible. Obviously, Oliver or Robin will inform us if it can be possible, probably an hour before the meeting, and then we can meet at the town hall so the meeting can be streamlined. That's the right word, streamed. Okay, so we'll look forward to that date, the 13th of June. Just like to thank everyone for the full reports, and also Wendy for taking the minutes and Sam for doing the streaming. So thank you very, very much, everyone, and have a good rest of the Love West Norfolk Day. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks all. Cheerio.
Bye. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
The